Hi, it's Chris from Diary of a Lincoln Geek here, live coming from UK Games Expo 2022. I'm losing track what stream it is today, but we're streaming live across all platforms during the 3 days here at UK Games Expo. At the moment, I'm here with Scott from Minerva Tabletop Games, talking about Swatch. It's an amazing, looking game from a graphic designer perspective. It appeals to me in bags of quantities. We have our review copy and we're excited to be reviewing it. We've done our unboxing, and I will say I'm impressed with how much fits in such a lovely little handheld box.
Yes, it's really packed in.
Yeah, you really have packed it in. So I kind of want to lead with, what's your inspiration for this?
So it starts, I love abstract games. And one of the frustrations that I often found was that I wouldn't have something tangible at the end of the game that I could see that I've made.
Yep.
I liked the efficiency aspect, sequencing your actions. But I really wanted, as strange as it seems, an abstract game that still felt thematic.
Yep.
And so that's what led me on to the efficiency action with cubes and discs, which lent itself great to a colour theme, and then I really just dove straight into it.
Nice.
So I'm a graphic designer, that's my background, so it made sense as a theme to me. It's something that I really loved.
Yeah.
And something that I thought was maybe a bit underrepresented. There's art games,
yes,
usually about paintings,
yeah,
but I really liked the idea of just looking at the colour, because I felt like the colour theory really lent itself well to mechanisms.
Yeah. So for anyone who's not seeing this, because of course you've had a successful Kickstart,
yep,
and it's now being fulfilled, and this is out this weekend,
yes,
isn't it? Its first available capacity to people to buy.
Yes.
So people can come to Expo and buy this, play this here, and take away a copy today if they wanted to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your retail on this?
So it's £29.
Yeah, that's not a lot for such a what looks like a very evolved game. Give us a brief summary of what's involved with Swatch then.
Sure. So in Swatch, we play as artists, and we're experimenting with colour, mixing and matching to create exciting new colour schemes.
Yep.
So we've got, starting with our scheme cards here, these are your objectives for the game, and it gives you an idea of the colour scheme that you're going to be making. You choose them purely on what you like the look of, because that's really what it's all about, isn't it? Creating gorgeous combinations of colour.
Yeah.
So the way it works is these cards give you 3 swatch decks that you're going to be creating cards from, and these are the swatch decks here. They represent the colour wheel. So you're starting with your reds and you go through to greens and purples.
Yeah. And
each of these cards has a different resource cost, and it's all a combination of red, green and blue.
Yep.
So anyone familiar with colour, especially printer ink,
yes, RGB,
cursed printer ink,
yeah,
will recognise how the colour mixes in this game.
Yeah. So I got a cool question based on that then.
Yes.
Is it RGB or CMYK?
Well, I've had some people say, well, if you're working with print, why do you end up with RGB? So the colour mixing, when you're working with physical paint instead of light,
yep,
is always CMY to RGB. And it's because it's the way that our eyes translate the colour. So mixing these pigments goes through our eyes and becomes red in the instance for magenta and yellow.
Yes.
Obviously, RGB is mostly used with digital and computers, which is why people think it's strange that you end up with that. But that's how our eyes register the colour.
Interesting, I like that. I'm glad I asked that. Brilliant. So sorry, carry on.
No, that's awesome. So to get your red, green and blue to create your swatch cards, you're going to draft cards row by row. So each player takes it in turn to pick a card along beginning with the top row, a card to play. So let's take these as an example. So let's say orange takes 5 cyan. So an add card comes in cyan, magenta and yellow and different quantities. And playing this would get you 5 cyan cubes. So you would add those to your palette.
Yeah.
Let's say purple wants magenta, and they take that and they will add 2 magenta. And then brown decides to go for yellow. They would add yellow. Everyone's got colour to get them started. As we move into the next round, turn order is determined from left to right by the player tokens.
Yep.
So orange will go first, then brown, then purple.
Right.
So they've flipped over from the original. Because you do a row each round, you can always see 2 rounds ahead, and choosing which cards to take also informs what pick you'll get in the next round. So if you wanted to guarantee first pick, for instance, there's not a lot of colour here. If you wanted to make sure you were getting a colour each round, you would take 6 magenta, which would give you first pick for the next round.
Yeah.
The other cards that we have are trade cards here.
Yep.
So these allow you to trade small amounts of cyan, magenta and yellow between the supply or other players.
Okay, cool.
So there is a slight take that element. It's not designed to really impact their game, but it will give you an edge, especially if they have exactly what they need and you can take a key resource.
Yeah, scupper them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then finally we have the mix cards. And the mix cards allow you to mix your cyan, magenta and yellow into red, green and blue.
Oh, yeah.
So on the back of each scheme card, you've got the colour reference, which shows you how the colours mix together. So you will always use all 3 colours in each swatch card, just in different combinations.
Nice.
And then once you have your red, green and blue, you can use them to create these swatch cards. And then when you've created all 3, your scheme is complete.
Yep.
But you can't win until you have got rid of all your excess tokens.
Okay.
So as you're mixing colour together, especially if you're artists trying to race against each other to make yours, some paint's going to get spilt, and you're going to have to clean that up.
Right.
So you can play quickly and messy, or you can play slower and more efficient. It comes down to the play style of that player.
Yeah.
Me personally, I try and be as efficient as possible and leave no excess paint.
Yeah.
But some people will take the sometimes more effective route of going for large cards, getting more stuff, mixing it together and see what they end up with.
Ah.
So the way you get rid of your excess tokens is in spare actions. If you have a card that you don't want to play the action off, you can discard it to discard a single token back to the supply. And so you can start doing this whenever you feel comfortable to try and make it so that when you finish your scheme, you have nothing left over.
Right.
So it's a race game, but it's a balance of speed and efficiency, really.
Nice. Brilliant. Well, I definitely look forward to giving it a proper in-depth play myself, because of course I've got the review copy at the moment. It's nice that you've got everything here, because let's face it, people like to be able to play something, and if they like it, take it away.
Oh yeah.
We see the the impact of Kickstarter that's had within the industry, and it's a great thing, but often waiting for that fulfillment time can be a bit of a bugbear for some people.
Oh yeah.
How do you feel about that? How's that helped you guys or impacted you guys? Would you do it again? And if you would, what would you do different?
So without crowdfunding, I would not exist.
Right.
I would not be able to be here because I just didn't have the capital to be able to put 10 grand up to produce it.
Yeah.
So I owe Kickstarter a lot, and Game Found as well, who were my pledge manager and are doing their own crowdfunding now. I would absolutely do it again. As successful as this is, you still need huge amounts of money to produce a game, especially with the shipping crisis at the moment.
Yes,
you have to be incredibly careful because your margins can be gone in an instant. I'm working on other games and they will be crowdfunded on a platform.
Okay.
To be decided.
That's fine.
But I think I learned a lot in the process. I mean, having a pandemic in the middle, I funded in the middle of a pandemic, and then obviously the shipping crisis kicked off, which delayed things.
Yeah.
But I have learned a lot in the process of designing and publishing games. So I meddled with the design of these cards a lot because I wanted each one of them to be their own piece of art.
Yeah.
So the art of the cards is inspired by the Bauhaus School of Art and Design.
Yeah.
which was
picked up on that.
Personal favourite of mine.
Yes.
They used simple shapes and bright colours, and it was a perfect mix. And I wanted each card not only to look like its own piece of art, but also inform the player of what the card does.
Yeah.
So all the ad cards have used square and rectangle shapes because of the tokens. All the mixed cards are circular, and all the trade use arrows because obviously things are changing hands.
No, it's nice.
So it was such a joy to design the cards. I probably should have stopped at some point, but I made probably about twice the amount of artwork that ended up in the game because I wanted it to be perfect.
No. Well,
and
when you're a graphic designer, you do.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I'm really happy with how it came out. As a designer, you often look back at your work and you're like, oh, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done this. I'm really proud of how it's turned out.
Yeah.
But I think I would definitely, I've learned when to say, this is the time to stop.
Yes.
And
that's good.
This is good enough.
Brilliant.
What's they say? Perfect is the enemy of good, or done.
Yes.
So
that's really useful. That's great insight. That's brilliant. Obviously we've got copies of the game here.
Yep.
Okay. Do I understand correctly? You've got a convention exclusive.
I have, yes. So I designed a card with artwork specific to to this year. So this is the 2022 Mix 2. It's a unique design that you can add into the deck to replace a standard Mix 2.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to doing more of them as well.
Yeah, no, it's nice.
I noticed there's a Pride Month promo.
There is, yes. So last year I launched the Pride Month promo to raise money for LGBT charities.
Yeah.
And it allows you to create the Pride flag in a scheme.
Nice.
So normally your schemes will be 3 colours. This breaks convention slightly and it's 6 across the whole colour wheel.
Nice.
But it was too good an opportunity to pass up to be able to create that.
Very cool.
I was very happy with that.
No, that is good.
So these are the last few of a Kickstarter add-on. They are gold and silver metallic swatches from these decks. So they have non-metallic versions in here, essentially.
Nice.
You can either add them into the decks or use them to replace the ones that are similar. But they were very popular, and they really do pop when you've got it in your scheme as well.
Nice. No. And how can people get these if they want these? So they've got to come. Obviously, the convention exclusive. They've got to be here at the UK Games Expo. Yeah.
So the show exclusive card is for anyone who buys a copy this weekend, or if they were a Kickstarter backer or pledged through GameFound, they can just come to me and say, "Oh yeah, I pledged," and then they can get one as well.
Fantastic.
The base game is available in retail stores now as well, a selection around the country.
Okay, so which do you know, can you tell us who's retailing it for you?
I can. I've got to start with the Ludicrous in Croydon because that's my local, and also they backed the Kickstarter to support me.
We like local suppliers supporting independent designers, so thank you.
Also, Tic Tac Tabletop in Cornwall.
Nice.
Also backed the Kickstarter. We've got Thirsty Meeples, both locations, which is Bath and Cambridge, I think it is. I think the other one is.
Cambridge rings a bell, yes.
So they've got it in both their stores. They also have it in their games library available to play.
Nice.
Element Games in Sheffield, and lastly, Zatu Games.
Nice.
It's also available in Denmark and the great state of Georgia, USA.
Lovely. Wonderful. That's nice. And if people want to, can they buy it direct to you from your website?
Yes. So as you mentioned, this is the general release weekend. So this is the first time people have been able to buy it directly. And following the show, I'll be launching it on my web store as well, on minervatabletop.co.uk. So if they're not at the show, they can pick it up very shortly afterwards as well.
And there should be a banner on screen, guys, for you to have a look at that. Go on their website and check that out. Like you said, it's going to be available after the convention.
Yes.
So keep checking and keep looking. I've got one last question for you, okay?
Yeah.
Being a graphic design geek, okay, I can't help but love your logo design. There's a story behind this. Please, can you tell our viewers the story behind your logo?
So, Minerva Tabletop Games comes from my love of ancient history and mythology. Minerva is the Roman goddess of wisdom and strategy, so that feels like a perfect match for board games. Her familiar was also the owl, and Athena in Greek mythology also had an owl as a familiar. The owl is my favorite animal, and really I just wanted an excuse to have an owl as my logo.
Nice.
So I created this. An interesting fact about it as well is the owl shape is made up of the initials of my company. So M is the crest on the head, T is the tucked wing, and G is the head and body.
Clever. I didn't spot that. Nice. I love that.
Yeah,
it's
a very subtle one. I think only a couple of people have noticed so far, but
that's really ace.
Yeah, I really enjoyed making that. Yes. Oh, yes. So I'm alumni of University of Lincoln, who Minerva was their figurehead during my time there. Yeah. So it's another personal link.
And I think we've got a comment from online as well.
Well, that's come on Facebook basically saying that he likes the RGB thing because eyes are RGB. That's how we see things. Basically.
Man who knows his colours.
Yeah. Thanks very much for that comment. Of course, we get lots of involvement on Rewatch on our streams. We're here for all 3 days, okay, guys? So if you've liked the video, please share or subscribe to us on YouTube to get further notifications for when we're going live for the rest of the weekend. Of course, you can check out the schedule on the website, which is www.doalg.co.uk, or if you like typing in really long things, diaryofalincolngeek.com. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you and finally meeting you.
Yes.
We look forward to future projects. Do obviously give us a shout. Hopefully the review will be coming live to the website very soon. So do keep an eye out on the website. In the meantime, it's been Chris from Diary of a Lincoln Geek at UK Games Expo 2022. Take care, stay safe, and keep gaming, everyone.
Cheers, guys.